New federal immigration numbers confirmed to CTV News show the surprising number of people entering Canada with prior criminal records. Canada approved more than 17,000 applications between 2014 and 2024, or about 70% of the requests that were made. Immigration Canada saying, quote, people with past convictions outside Canada must demonstrate they have been rehabilitated and do not pose a risk.
Sounds like just another day in Canada. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a few different things in regards to crime, immigration, as well as some new polling data that's come out, especially with Pierre Poilievre's by-election on the way, scheduled for August. But before we get started, I do want to ask you guys, do you guys prefer videos where we kind of tackle one topic? Do you prefer these kind of videos where we pepper in a few different things and it's kind of an overview of them? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, please hit the subscribe button, share, like the video. It does help get these videos out there. But with all that being said, let's get into today's video. Now to get started, I just want to quickly look over this new Abacus data that's come out. And Abacus was pretty consistent throughout the election, so I don't really mind too much their polling data. And this question they posed on July 2nd said, if an election was held today, which national political party would you vote for? And so for federal vote intentions, the Conservatives have gone up a point since June, and the Liberals have actually gone down a point. Nothing too groundbreaking, but you know, it is what it is. Committed vote intention, again, neck and neck pretty much, 40 to 41. But as we get down into the ages, we all kind of saw this happening. 18 to 29, still heavily conservative. 30 to 44, still heavily conservative. And then 45 plus, very much liberal. We also know that the Conservatives did have a bit of an issue throughout the election with the female vote. However, this is showing that it's not too far off from the Liberals. So we just need to do a little bit better with the females, get that support there. But this is just heartbreaking. You know, the Liberals in the university, they are all so captured, and it's unfortunate. Now, college, surprisingly, is not that far off either. It's only a 3-point difference, high school or less. These kids are looking a little bit smarter, the ones that are coming up. But yeah, just wanted to quickly look over those results, take them as you will. Now, moving on to some of the other stories, as you heard from the opener with CTV News, it says Canada has approved entry for more than 17,600 people with a criminal record in the last decade. Now, these are rehab applications for people with criminal records hoping to enter the country. And from the past decade, more than 25,350 foreigners submitted an application to have their criminal record forgiven so that they could enter Canada, whether on a work or study visa, to apply for permanent residency or for a short-term visa or visit. Of those applications, nearly 70% were approved, nearly 20% were refused, and about 10% of the applicants were withdrawn. An IRCC spokesperson says Canadian safety will always be the top priority. People with past convictions outside of Canada must demonstrate that they have been rehabilitated and do not pose a risk to Canadian society, which I'm all on board for. I agree that should be the standard. However, they then go to claim that the IRCC does not filter the applications for the type of criminal activity, which I think should potentially be one of the red flags that you're looking for. It also says that it does not filter for applicants' country of origin, which might be another bit of an issue because we are starting to see a higher number, a vastly higher number from one specific place, India, rather than any other country. And we covered this maybe a few videos back, I can't remember how many videos ago, about the levels and how uneven it is. But that might be something that we need to start looking at. Now, a lawyer, a refugee lawyer, said that the vast majority of these offenses are pretty minor. The lawyer then goes on to say, when you hear these terms like foreign criminals, it sounds very scary, which is true. But later on, the lawyer states, the screening by the IRCC officials is much more rigorous depending on the severity of the crime. The more serious the offense, the less likely it would be that the application would be granted. But earlier in the article, it says the IRCC does not even filter the applications for the type of criminal activity. So to me, that sounds like two conflicting statements. How are they very rigorous in their process if they're not even actually filtering the applications by crimes. To me, that doesn't make much sense. And it's not just in Canada that we're seeing this, it's across the globe. This is a small snippet from another podcast that was done earlier this week on trigonometry. And just listen to what this gentleman had to say.
The type of person who's coming across, we now, I think, rightly openly laugh at people who say, well, it's all poor women and children. Well, there are some women and children, and clearly I don't like seeing them getting into boats and taking a dangerous journey across the busiest shipping lane in the world. Nobody does. But the absolute stone cold reality of the situation is that the overwhelming majority of these people are young men, and it's not just about where they're coming from, it's the fact that they have all, by definition, travelled through numerous different other countries and for whatever reason been unable to make a life for themselves there. Some of them undoubtedly through criminality, some of them potentially through choice, most of them through a lack of opportunity in any of those countries. And what that means, if you take it to its natural conclusion, is the calibre of person that we are now getting crossing the English Channel is very, very low. Is very, very low. Because a lot of people, if you are a genuine doctor or engineer, there is a very good chance that you would have been able to have found a life for yourself in one of these other countries. And I don't particularly necessarily like using this term of language, but yeah, we are, in a sense, I think, in many cases, getting the dregs of the migrant crisis problem.
Now, to me, what he's saying is quite worrisome because we are starting to see that here more and more in Canada, and especially with Canada moving closer to the Europeans because of Mark Carney, we might start looking like Hungary or Britain, Germany, France, Spain, a lot of these places that are being heavily affected by immigration, Estonia, Latvia, like there are so many places that are hit hard with immigration. Crime is going through the roof. Their populations are getting overrun. And it's not to say that all immigrants are causing this crime. We already have people here in Canada that are causing a lot of this crime, but that has to also be tied to the federal government. And there's some articles or videos that just came out this week, about people getting sick and tired of all of the crime that's being rampant in their areas because of these liberal policies, these federal government policies. Take a look.
Watch closely. This man in a white hoodie notices something and picks it up. When he returns, he drops a rock in front of the store. A few more seconds, the intention is clear. This smash and grab happened just before 5 a.m. Saturday at Crystal Smoke and Convenience on Johnston Road. The manager says the thief took off with up to $7,000 in merchandise, and the broken door cost $1,300 to repair. 2 blocks up the street at David Michael of London.
It was this door here that was smashed. Here's all the glass that I've had to sweep up.
This hair salon also a victim of a smash and grab that same morning, losing up to $4,000 in products. David Gadik says he's fed up.
Sick and tired of it when you're working hard, struggling in these times. There's businesses are going under left, right and centre around us.
His neighboring store had enough of the vandalism and closed up shop last summer. Gadik blames the nearby safe consumption site at Peace Arch Hospital for the rise in crime.
I don't believe they have a mental health issue. I believe that they were mentally challenged at that moment because of the drugs they'd taken.
The local MLA says crime has gone up and stresses the province needs to address repeat offenders.
White Rock wasn't always like this, but it is a chronic problem right now, and it's just more on the rise. And until this government actually puts forward legislation to deal with it, it's just going to get worse.
Last Friday, the province promised $6 million on a program to target repeat offenders.
Now, some might see this video and say, well, that's happening in BC, but we already know that this wave of crime is happening across the country, whether it's breaking and entering into houses, stealing cars, assaults on public transit, smash and grabs at jewelry stores, even backing up into banks or ATM machines so that they can steal the whole machine or just take the money that's in it. It's getting quite crazy. And in that video, they're talking about so-called safe supply, which many people could say, well, that's a provincial thing. That's David Eby. That was allowed because of the federal government gave them funding and approved of all that. So I do hold the federal government also accountable for that. Now, many liberals, and especially our liberal government, would say that these are all problems that the provincial government should be handling. And just before the House sat, this was the conversation that happened in the House of Commons between a conservative and a liberal. Take a look.
The Liberals' catch and release policies are so bad that mayors and city councillors are preemptively writing letters to Crown Council begging them to keep the bad guys in jail. Mayor Rather of Williams Lake recently wrote, "We vehemently oppose Jacob Funk's release. The actions of this individual have put our residents and property at significant risk. When Jacob Funk is in jail, the crime rate goes down. When he is out, the crime rate goes up. Why does this Prime Minister keep putting the rights of criminals ahead of Canadians?"
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we're making it tougher for violent criminals to get out on bail, imposing stricter sentences for repeat offenders. But let me be clear, there is nothing in the law stopping judges and JPs from denying bail. The current law is that people who are a risk to public safety or a flight risk should not be given bail. So, Mr. Speaker, what's really going on here? Reports are saying that judges are making decisions because the provinces aren't providing the space needed to hold criminals. It's time for the provinces to join us and step up.
The Honourable Member for Caribou Prince George.
It's always somebody else's fault. 37 times. Jacob Funk has been arrested 37 times, and 37 times he's been released. Over 9 times in the past month. He's wreaking havoc on the citizens of Williams Lake, and this Prime Minister is letting him. When will he repeal his soft on crime policies and finally put victims' rights ahead of criminals?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we are on the same page. Repeat violent offenders should not be released. So let me be clear again. There is nothing stopping judges and JPs from denying bail. The current law states that people who are a risk to public safety or a flight risk should not be given bail. So, Mr. Speaker, I think it's time for the provinces to step up. What is happening? Make sure the Crown prosecutors are well funded. Make sure there's space to hold these criminals. We're going to do our part. The provinces should do theirs.
So they're stepping up and the provinces should too. This is the same garbage that we heard from Trudeau when their justice minister kept saying, oh, well, it has nothing to do with us. None of our criminal codes or policies or the bills. It all has to do with the provinces. When time and time again, especially here in Ontario, we had whether it was the Barrie Police Force, the Hamilton, Peel, Durham, Toronto, Windsor. It didn't really matter which police force it was. They all said the same thing. Things need to be changed in the criminal code. These guys' hands are tied with this whole catch and release garbage. And we're seeing that across the country now. Even in BC, we're having the same situation. And this is another story that came from BC, a disgusting one. Just take a look at the results of what's happening there.
In British Columbia, CBC News is learning more about a man charged with a 14-year-old girl in Vancouver last month during an alleged crime spree. John Friedick Field is a high-risk offender with a long criminal record, and 2 months before the alleged attack on the girl, he was in police custody for terrorizing another young woman, but he was released. Now, for more on that, I'm joined by CBC's Karen Larson, who's been looking into this. So Karen, this man turned up at the woman's house in the middle of the night in March?
Yeah, 4:30 in the morning in East Vancouver. She lives in a third-floor apartment in an old house in the Commercial Drive area. Her name is Danielle. We found her in the court records, but we're not identifying her, so we're only going to use her first name. Yeah, so she was awakened in her third-floor apartment, and this is what she told us happened.
I saw him through the door. He's standing on my patio, just standing there looking at me. And then as I screamed, realizing that I didn't know this person, he started walking towards the door and started banging on the door. I grabbed a knife that was on my kitchen counter. My dog was barking. He's freaking out. The guy's still banging on the door. He's screaming at me, yelling at me.
So, Sarah, police responded quickly, and they did arrest John Friedick Field on Danielle's patio. He is, as you said, a high-risk offender, has a long criminal record, and was on probation for the 2023 of a female hospital worker at that time. He's also been assessed for high-risk offender status, but it wasn't sought by Crown last year. And after being arrested at Danielle's, he was released within 24 hours by Vancouver police.
Yeah, so anybody who's listening to this and hearing that account of what happened here is wondering why wasn't Field detained and in custody?
Well, VPD says it's because they have restrictions and limitations by the criminal code, and the fact that trespassing at night, which is the charge he was facing, is a low-level criminal offense. Police did submit a charge assessment to Crown the following day. Here's a VPD spokesman, Steve Addison.
We're confident that we had sufficient evidence and significant evidence of this offense when we arrested him, that offense being trespass at night. We arrested him at the scene on the balcony, and he was taken into custody.
Now, full transparency, I actually really dislike this guy. I almost hate him at this point, because every time I see the BC News or there's some sort of tragedy or an event that's happened and this guy's there as the spokesperson, he gives the absolute worst answers. I mean, here he is defending, saying, we definitely arrested him for trespassing. We got him. But then they ended up releasing him, which they're saying is because of the criminal code. I'm sure that's legit, but do better, man. And if you're somebody who lives in BC or who has interacted with this guy or maybe has the same feeling as me with him, let me know in the comment section below. But all that being said, let's get back to the report.
But a charge wasn't filed, and Crown asked the VPD for more evidence of this crime. Meanwhile, Field was out on the street and had a number of interactions with police. He was arrested in early May for stealing from a Lululemon store in downtown Vancouver. And CBC has learned that police were seeking him in relation to 2 other incidents involving women in Vancouver. Then on May 28th, back to the start of our story, he was arrested for allegedly assaulting the 14-year-old girl in the washroom in the Oak Ridge neighborhood. He also is charged with assaulting a woman in the same crime, alleged crime spree, and robbing a bank. He is scheduled to appear in Vancouver Provincial Court on June the 26th for a bail hearing.
So even after having this long laundry list of offenses that he's committed, him being on the police radar, he's still scheduled for a bail hearing. And this story is from a week or so ago. I just couldn't really fit it into anything. But this story, unfortunately, as sad as it is, isn't that special anymore. We're hearing this over and over and over again. Just a few weeks ago, I covered that story of the woman from Toronto who was visiting BC and was attacked by that lunatic. She was all battered and bruised. He just got some sort of mental health check thing, was put on house arrest, and now he's free again to potentially hurt somebody else. During Pierre's campaign for the election, he talked about those 40 offenders that committed over 6,000 crimes in this one area. Just now in the House of Commons, you heard that MP saying this one guy, when he's released, which was I think 33 or 37 times already, the crime rate spikes. Like, this is becoming too normal at this point, and that is a big problem. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think about all this. Leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.